when police respond now, when anyone responds, they are trained to go in immediately. You don't
Really?
contain the situation. You go straight in.
Well, they didn't do that in Parkland.
No, they did not. And that was one of the issues that they had with that. As the phrase goes, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
Free Talk Live.
David from New Hampshire would like to talk about that. David, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Pork Fest, a party.
Woo.
It's going to be a party.
Nice.
Are you going to go this year, Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com?
Oh, I don't know yet. That's what, in June?
Yeah, June 13th through the 18th is the Fork Fest dates, and then the Porcupine Freedom Festival follows it from the 18th through the something. I think it's like another 5 days, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we hope to see you.
Well,
It'd be great. It'd be great to have you up there.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Because
you're one of the originals, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt. You're one of the original Pork Festers, right? Didn't you go to Pork Fest 0?
No, I went to one of the ones, I went to one in 05. That would have been the second one.
Yeah, that's pretty
right.
early, though. Nice. So what's on your mind, Dave?
Well, I was saying that things tend to happen in twos. And last night I was talking to you guys about, or either the previous host, about this guy who's refusing to use the police to solve a burglary that he's suffered. He's using social media.
I love this story. This is the gentleman it's about a snowmobile, right?
Right, some guy with a
that's
truck.
That's not what I'm calling to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. So, some guy with a truck
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that someone else is now doing the same thing, sort of. I mean, a similar thing on a different subject, just coincidentally in Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Okay. What was stolen there?
This is not exactly the same thing. It's aimed at a different kind of crime.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like a reaction to school shootings without using the police. So the idea is, or without necessarily using the police. So the idea, they're calling it active shooter training at this place called Londonderry Fish and Game. And the idea is to train people how to respond as just average civilians to something like this, because the theory is that, well, the reality is that when one of these things happens, there's usually not a cop around. The people who just happen to be there are the first responders for the first 5 or 10 minutes.
Or they should be. I mean, they should be able to respond, but they're not trained, many of them, and they might be afraid. And so this is trying to help them get over those concerns. They've been trained to call the police and then, cower and wait. And then, of course, we find out that the police in a lot of cases show up and then cower and wait.
Yeah,
we've seen
did down in Florida.
That's just the most recent, the Parkland shooting. That's the most recent example of it. But it goes all the way back to Columbine.
Oh, certainly.
All the way back. I mean, I remember.
That was the mantra back then was
officer safety.
Officer safety, and you contain the shooter.
Yep.
You keep them in one location until you have overwhelming force, then you go in. And what they learned in Columbine is while you were containing the shooter had no problem going throughout that high school and shooting people. So the modern, and I know this a little bit from time spent as like an emergency management director, when police respond now, when anyone responds, they are trained to go in immediately. You don't contain the situation. You go straight in.
Well, they didn't do that in Parkland.
No, they did not. And that was one of the issues that they had with that. As the phrase goes, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
Yeah.
But they did not follow their own advice. So I'm happy to see this sort of thing happening. People, you are capable of defending other human lives. You have that in you, whether you wish to do so, whether you wish to put yourself at risk, at mortal risk. That's up to each person to decide. But I think these are skills that more people should have, not just the police. So people are not afraid to call their neighbors.
So, Dave, you're saying that there's actually a training class for folks on this?
Yeah, and it's at a gun. It's a gun range where they're having the training, and part of the training is gun training. So this is not one of these snowflake response type things.
Right.
This is the kind of thing that I think you could approve of.
Well, I approve of it. I think it's a great idea. Absolutely.
decentralize all the things. In this case, emergency response.
Yeah.
And allowing people, and I think Cell 411 is a good tie-in with this. And long-time sponsor of the show, they had to pull out due to, I think, some budgetary issues because, well, there's no revenue model for Cell 411.
It's free.
Yeah, get cell411.com. The app's still great. It still works very, very well. It's a decentralized emergency response app, GPS-based. You pull it up when something's happening. Usually it's something bad that's happening to you that you want to let people know about. There's nothing in there for it's my birthday, so it's usually like a bad thing. Right. Maybe you're broken down, the car's broke down, you're having some sort of medical issue, the police are pulling you over. There's 8 or 9, maybe even half a dozen, more than a dozen different items that you can select, and all you have to do is just punch the screen, select the thing that you want. That'll then be blasted out to your other friends that have Cell 411, and you can also record live video and stream that live video out to your friends so they can watch, so they can see what's happening to you almost instantaneously.
Have a witness.
Which is amazing. I mean, the technology there is so incredible. It's so accessible now. There's, again, you don't have to pay a fee to use this program.
Right.
You don't have to pay a fee to stream out the video. I mean, it's thanks to Virgil Baduva, basically, for funding this out of his own pocket, and it's a great program. I recommend it highly. And get cell411.com. That could, in combination with what Ridley here is talking about, what Dave is talking about in New Hampshire, Cell 411, and notice kind of, hello, heads up, this is happening, could be seen by those people that have the gun training that are in the area. If it were more used, it has to get more users in order for it to be more useful, and then they could respond much faster than the police can.
But how many people does it really take? I mean, it seems like on the supply side of services, there are a lot of people that are willing to do this, and that's where I think Cell 411 has the potential to grow. So I guess what I'm saying is if you reach a critical mass, if you say that there are 50 people who have gone through this gun training course, and they are within minutes away from this particular high school or grade school or whatever school it is, then that is certainly a selling point to regular people like teachers and things like that who wish to augment their protection other than relying on the state. And like I said, when minutes count, the police are only minutes away. Dave Ridley, thank you so much for the call.
Free Talk Live. Listen live 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern or grab the podcast. It's all at freetalklive.com.